Janet Diane Mourglia-Swerdlow with another edition of Cooking with Janet. And today we are going to make Stewart's birthday cake because his favorite cake is cheesecake. So what I have here to start with to make the crust is gluten-free graham style crackers. And we are going to use about 9.5 of these, about 1/3 of a pound is what we're going for. So I put them in this bag, I sealed it up tight, and I have my heavy-duty rolling pin here. So we can make this into some fine crumbs, which we're going to put and mix in with some melted butter in a second and make the crust. Okay, almost got it nice and fine. The other thing you could probably do is put it into your food processor if you have a food processor. Probably also helps speed the process along, but this is the old-fashioned way. So, we have our crumbs, then at the top we just pour it right into a mixing bowl. And I have also melted 6 tablespoons of butter, which will go in here. Now, some people like to add a little bit of sugar, but I think it's sweet enough the way that it is. And the recipe that I'm showing you, if you cut it into about 16 pieces, you are only going to be having about 15 carbs per piece, so it's a nice low-carb dessert for you. Just want to make sure all the crumbs get all soaked up with the butter. And then, over here, I have put together the cheesecake pan already. Now, as you know, it's got the bottom, which comes out. You just fold it up. And that creates your pan. Now, I like to put mine on a foil-lined cookie sheet or baking sheet because oftentimes the butter will kind of leak out the bottom a little bit. So that way I don't have a mess all over my oven. So we just pour the crumbs in, spread it around, press it around the bottom. And that's going to make a really nice crust. Now you don't have to use graham crackers, you can use cookies. You can actually do this without a crust, which I have done. Just kind of depends on what your preference is. And push that down. It's nice and firm, and try and cover up the bottom as best as you can. Okay. Then we're going to do our filling, which you'll be surprised how easy this is. Now I was hoping to make this with goat cream cheese, but my goat cream cheese didn't come into the store today. So we have 4 blocks of 8-ounce or 2 pounds of Philadelphia cream cheese, but if you can find the goat cream cheese, makes a really great cheesecake as well. That's going to be our base. I have a 1.5 cups or 1.25 cups of coconut crystals, and that's going to go in first. And then you need a mixer. And this is my little hand one. We're going to mix it together until it's nice and creamy. Once you have your sugar mixed in, we're going to put in 5 eggs. And one of the secrets to having a really creamy cheesecake, believe it or not, is not to beat it too much. So we're just going to mix the eggs in so it's nice and creamy. You can see how nice and smooth that's looking, so let's just wipe down the sides of the bowls a little bit. And we are going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. And a 1/4 cup of lemon juice, which is fresh squeezed today. Or you can use the bottled. And I have 3 tablespoons of flour. Now I made a little of my buckwheat flour and put that in. And then we're going to mix that together. Okay, you just want to mix it because remember what I told you, the secret to a good cheesecake is not overbeating it. And our last ingredient is 1 pint or 2 cups of sour cream, or you can also use yogurt, and I have used sheep's yogurt in the past. Of course, full fat, so it makes it nice and creamy. Get it all in there. Okay, and then we're going to mix that in gently. Okay, remember what I said, we don't want to overbeat it, so I'm just going to kind of finish it up with my rubber spatula, but you can see what a beautiful, nice, thick, creamy batter this is making. And just bring it down to the bottom of the bowl. And once you have your batter done, then we're going to put this right on top of our graham cracker crust. Take that off. And here we go. And this is going to fill it right up to the top. You can see it's nice and thick and rich and creamy. It is a New York style cheesecake. You can also use 1 cup of maple syrup in place of the coconut crystals, but that will add about 5 carbs per serving. So it just depends again on what your goals are. Let's put this in here. And then you're going to spread it out so it's even on top, because that will help it to bake better. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to bake it for 15 minutes at 475 degrees to give it a good start. That's my hands here. And then after 15 minutes, we're going to turn it down to 300. Now, another secret of making good cheesecake is not to peak once you've got it in the oven cooking. So it's going to go in. This is the last time you're going to see it till morning, because it's going to also cool in the oven. That is also part of the secret. So I have it set for 475. We're going to turn the timer on 15 minutes. And then we're going to come back and we're going to lower the heat without peaking. And then after we lower the heat to 300, we're going to bake it for 45 minutes. And then again, we're not going to peak. It's tempting, I know, but don't do it because it will make it fall. So then we're going to let it sit overnight and cool, and we'll peek at it in the morning. And you'll be surprised how beautiful it is. So see you in 15 minutes. Our timer just went off. So timer end, we're going to turn the timer off. We're going to lower our baking temperature down to 300. Now notice I'm not going to peek at the cheesecake, even though I know it's very tempting. Okay, so we're just going to leave it. Then we're going to set our timer for 45 minutes. And when it's 45 minutes is over, we're simply going to turn the oven off, and then we're going to leave it. You need to leave it a minimum of 4 hours. Whoops, minimum of 4 hours, and I'm just going to let mine sit overnight. And then it will cool and finish baking in the oven. That's one of the secrets of having a great cheesecake. So we will take a look at 45 minutes. We're going to turn the oven off and just let it sit until morning. Here we are, 300. The timer went off, so I'm going to turn the timer off. We're going to cancel this oven. It's going to just sit now. And we're going to let the cheesecake sit without baking. Remember, we don't want anything bad to happen. We want to keep baking, but a slower and slower and lower temperature. So I'm going to leave mine sit overnight, and we will peek on it together in the morning. So here we are. The cheesecake is set overnight, so peek with me and see. It's nice and cool now. Okay, oh, well, let's see. It did split a little bit. That can happen, but that's all right. And it's nice and cool. It's pulled away from the edges of the pan. So I will leave it in this pan until I'm ready to serve it. And of course, I'll just cut around the outside with a knife, a kitchen table knife. And then we have the buckle under here. We'll undo. And I'm going to go ahead and make some blueberry sauce. So when you put that on top, when you're done, you're ready to serve it, it will fill in the cracks. And if you want, you can do some whipped cream on top. So let's come over here where I have 4 cups of previously frozen blueberries. I'm going to turn my heat on about medium-high. And I have 1/2 cup of coconut crystals. So that's going to go in first. And then we're just going to stir it around together. You can see, because of the berries were previously frozen, there's already liquid going on in there. And that's going to start to heat and pull the juices from the berries a little bit, along with the sugar. And while that's happening, it's going to take a few minutes for my pan to heat. While that's happening, I'm going to come over here, and I have a 1/4 cup of arrowroot. Now you can also use cornstarch, but I usually prefer the arrowroot. And then I have a 1/4 cup of just steamed distilled water I'm going to put in there. And I have 2 tablespoons of organic lemon juice. And you can either use it from here, or you can freshly squeeze it. So I'm taking the shortcut and using the bottle. And then this, we're just going to mix this together, so whenever our berries get ready, nice and warm, then this is what we're going to use for our thickener. So this will be ready in here. You just want to make sure everything is dissolved. And let's go back to our blueberries. It's, like I said, it's going to take it a minute here. So everything was in the freezer, so it's still cold. We're going to get it nice and warm. And then once it starts heating, then it will be ready to put our thickener in. Okay, you can see now that the juices have been released from the berries. It's starting to get a little warm. So I'm going to just re-stir my arrowroot and water here and lemon juice mixture. Make sure everything is mixed up nicely. And then I'm just going to pour that into my pan and mix that all together. And then we're going to bring it to a boil. And then let it boil for about a minute. And then we'll take it off and it will thicken up for us and be a beautiful topping for the cheesecake. Okay, starting to boil a little bit. You can see the little bubbles starting to come up in there. So we're going to boil it and stir it for about 1 minute. I can already feel it getting thicker. You can see the color changing a little bit as it thickens. There you go. You can see how thick that's getting compared to what it was. And just want to make sure everything is nice and cooked in. And then if it turns out a little thicker than you like, you can add a little bit of water. As you can see, it's going to be a nice thick sauce. And that's what we want for our cheesecake. So I think that's a little bit more. You always want to keep stirring it. I like this wooden flat spoon because it keeps it from sticking to the bottom of the pan and burning. And it is done. A nice thick blueberry sauce for the cheesecake. So that's it. So we're going to put it together in a little bit, and Stewart will have a beautiful birthday cake, his cheesecake. And I appreciate you joining me once again for Cooking with Diane Mourglia-Swerdlow, expansions.com.